Call this meeting to order for our March the 5th, 2025 special meeting. I want to welcome everybody here today. If there's anybody online, also welcome them. Our first item on our agenda today is the corrective action plan. So, Mr. Tadlock, I'll let you go over that. Anything that you have on it first?
I didn't have anything particular. The board had just asked to
All right.
talk directly about the corrective action plan, so we're
All right. Well,
just
all right,
waiting
then.
for guidance on that.
All right. Well, we'll start with the board members here. Anyone wants to say something first is quite all right. I guess, gentlemen, one of my questions, which I have never got an answer to yet, is when and if all this is corrected, how do we know it's going to stay corrected? That's the big question right there. And I know if you read between the lines, there are a lot of other things in here that need to be corrected. So this is only just the icing on top of the cake.
Also, to that point, who do we have in mind is the person that's going to be responsible for checking up on all these corrective actions?
That's something we need to decide today. Yeah, we need to have someone to do it, and someone that's going to keep to a schedule, keep on the people, on the agencies. This has to be done within a certain amount within a certain time frame. It just has to be corrected. Gentlemen, any other questions?
I think as far as overseeing it, it needs to be an outside source or someone. And I said this to Luttrell the other day, and I don't mean any harm when I say this, but it needs to be someone other than Luttrell to handle this. He's got other tasks to do. This can eat up a lot of time.
And you're speaking to somebody separate from the school board?
Somebody's going to come in and look at, not just do the school side, I want to, do the county side.
I do all.
So
Yeah.
one person for both sets of corrective action plans.
Right.
Yeah. Someone.
And I think, yeah, we need a correction action plan. I don't think this one is it. I'm used to timelines, expectations, who's going to do what. What are the consequences if the timeline is not met? And if you had someone that was going to oversee this, it would probably benefit that individual to have a big part into doing this action plan. A lot of copy and pasting. You can take this thing and you could probably have 3 different people go through this and they have 3 different opinions on how to do an action plan. But at the end of the day, we got to have results. How are you going to measure the results? We got it to define on how the results are going to be measured.
Yeah.
What are you going to, what are you going to compare the results to? So it's a little more to it than just what we have here.
if we define what we want, all right, we have enough retired persons in the county. Someone could do the job, an excellent job. Make sure that we get it out to the community as a whole, not a small section, but the total community. Come up with somebody that could fantastic ideas on how to accomplish our goal.
All right, gentlemen, what else do y'all have?
I don't think it's going to do a bit of good unless, like Jimmy said, you have to draw up goals and objectives. And then proceedings afterwards, what do you do if these things are not met? Who's going to be responsible? And what's going to be the procedure? I think that all needs to be laid out at the very beginning. So there's no, well, this came up, that came up. These things have to be addressed from the very beginning. I think it's a good idea, but don't just go halfway. Do the whole thing. Goals and objectives, when we expect them to be met, and what's going to happen if they're not met. No small undertaking.
Yep, I agree with you 100% on that, Mr. Fisher. Because we haven't gotten anywhere on this hardly now. We've gotten some things corrected, but still a lot of things that need to be corrected. Gentlemen, what do you want to do? You want to think about it and come up with ideas, or keep on discussing now? Put the ideas out on the table right now.
I'd like to discuss it more and to work with Luttrell and get his feelings on it as to what qualifications this person needs to have and what objectives this person needs to be able to perform. And what exactly we expect this person to do, or persons. And then make a decision, is this the way we want to go?
All right. Adlock, you have any thoughts? Oh, you're not ready to have any thoughts?
I do have some thoughts. I've been looking at this over the last 2 or 3 weeks. In trying to figure out a path forward on a lot of this. And I don't know some aspects of this. I was going to talk to the board in closed meeting under personnel. But other aspects of it, I can talk outside of that if the board wants to discuss that now or after.
What's the board's pleasure?
I'm ready now.
Hmm?
I'm ready to talk about it now.
All right. Keep on, Mr. Adlock.
All right, so In looking at a lot of what, as far as the corrective actions items, and I've also had some discussions with with Mary Earhart, who does a lot of our pre-audit items. There's some things that, in discussing with her, that on the county side and the school side, there may be some benefit of having an accountant on staff. And I've got in your board docs, there's an accountant manager position that would they would not have anybody reporting directly to them, but this individual would oversee a lot of the reconciliations, looking at the general ledgers, assisting with the budget. There's a lot of detail in there, in that job description, and it's, again, draft. But that's one idea that I've been looking at and want to present to the board, to kind of have an overview of both the county, looking at the reconciling between the county and the schools. It would overlook the social services. So it would look at everything. The way that I have this written is that it would be a CPA, and or a similar certification. That's just kind of some of an overview of it. I can go through the job description if you want. That's up to the board.
Is there any reason we wouldn't do that right now?
Keep on then.
So basically, like I said, it reconciles revenue, expenditure, and balance sheet accounts to all general ledgers, prepare and reconcile daily transactions and other accounting reporting requirements for the county with the Treasurer's Office, School Division, Social Services, and any state, federal distribution reports. Establishes and updates accounting systems, which processes a variety of transactions, accounts, and reports, reviews and verifies the accuracy of financial transactions performed, participates, supervises, and directs accounting division on the preparation and maintenance of financial records and reports. I'm just going to skip through some of this. Prepares monthly adjusting entries for accounts, implements and monitors all new financial accounting and reporting standards by assessing the impact of new standards on the county's financial accounting operations and reporting, ensuring that all impacted county personnel receive training and guidance, recommending changes to accounting systems, participates in the formulation and implementation of applicable financial policies and controls, analyzes and evaluates existing and alternatives, practices and procedures for financial management of the county, school, and social services, provides general advice, assistance, and recommendations to the county administrator, oversees various fiscal and financial functions, including the preparation and maintenance of all accounting, financial, and budgetary records for the county, school, and social services, monitors cash flows and position, oversees debt financing, fixed assets, grant activity, and risk management, correcting, balancing, and making any adjustments to the county ledgers with recommendations to the school and social services in the reconciliation process, assist the county administrator with proposed and adopted budget functions to include coordinating budget control and monitoring processes, assisting department personnel with budget management, assisting in the preparation, research, and review of the annual budget, the 5-year capital improvement planning, implements approved budget, prepares budget amendments as necessary, making appropriate ledger adjustments, estimating available fund balance, and with any other financial planning document. Serves as coordinator for automated budget system, prepares and presents regular and special financial analysis and reports for the county administrator and board of supervisors, monitors budget allocations, procurement grants, expenditures, fund balances, and related financial activities for the purpose of ensuring the allocations are accurate, revenues are recorded, expenses are within budget limits, and/or fiscal practices are followed. Review, analyze, evaluate, and recommend long and short-range budget plans. Review, coordinate, and monitor actual and projected revenues and expenditures. Compiles all GASB 87 and 96 for leases and IT contracts for auditors. Compiles and coordinates the preparation for the comprehensive annual financial report and all data for yearly pre-audit and audit processes, and works with the auditors. Again, the position functions without the responsibility of managing direct reports. And the last time has performed other duties as assigned.
How many people are you talking about here?
This is one person.
Huh? One person?
One person, Lord, that's a whole lot.
I guess you hit it, but I'm just going to ask again. This person will have access to all county budget and all financial county transactions. Is that correct?
They would have access to all county and the social services. We would need to work with the school division. I know it's come up in the past about the bridging. I would have this individual look into the bridging and work with the school division on the bridging aspect. Because they are two different, even though they're both RDA systems, they're two separate systems.
Would this person have an assistant? That's a whole lot of work there.
No.
Have you checked into other counties that in a similar situation, what they're doing?
I mean, the job description is similar to other job descriptions out there as far as a director of finance or an accountant manager, or it does combine some aspects, but there again, it's just one position.
How much of an asset would this position be to Ms. Dodson?
You're talking about two different, what was in the forensic audit is completely different than what this position would be. So we are looking at this position, but then we would be looking at putting the position to help Ms. Dodson in the budget. So you're looking at two different positions.
Would this be a plain hiring, or would it be a contract?
No, the way that I have it drafted now would be a county employee.
County
So they
employee.
would not be contracted.
All right. Questions, gentlemen?
Could someone be hired on a trial basis to see how it does, and how much workload is there within the year and then the following year? Sounds like to me they'd stay busy, but
What was that last thing you said?
I said, could a person be hired on a trial basis for, say, a year? And after that year starts to come up, we could look at what they've done for that year and what they've got coming at them for the following year, and see if we have enough to keep that person active, which sounds to me like we do. But,
More than enough.
I mean, most jobs are that way anyway.
Certainly would think we could evaluate them within a year. I think that's what we need to do.
I think the workload's going to be the big question.
Yep. See what kind of progress they have, and let them report to us monthly. What progress is.
I guess does that also entail a job description as far as background and education for a person like this?
So as far as that was just the duties.
Yeah.
I do have knowledge, skills, and abilities listed in this, and I can briefly go over some of that as well.
I'm not interested in that, but I'm just saying that the job does have that description that we can give us something to start with. Be nice to have somebody from Northumberland County if we could find them.
I'd like to see you go overfill some of those. You have those available?
So the education experience, we have bachelor's degree in accounting or related field, 5 years of progressively responsible experience in general accounting and/or governmental accounting, with considerable experience working with complex automated financial systems, spreadsheet applications, and financial reporting. The licenses or certifications, CPA or Certified Public Finance Officer required, or the ability to obtain one of the certifications within 12 months. Some of the knowledge and skills, advanced knowledge of modern accounting and office procedures and equipment, including applications of electronic data processing to the maintenance and analysis of fiscal data, advanced knowledge of federal, state, and local laws and policies concerning municipal fiscal operations, advanced knowledge of general governmental and municipal accounting and its compliance with GAAP, GFOA, and GASB, broad knowledge of fiscal, economic, and budget analysis, budget development and management and statistics, broad knowledge of current literature, auditing practices, trends, and developments in the fields of governmental accounting, budget and program analysis, performance measures, and public finance and procurement administration. Broad knowledge of personal computers and commonly used Microsoft Office software products, and I list those out. Ability to prepare general ledgers, billing invoices, trial balance, and other required accounting reports and information using prescribed format and conforming to all rules of punctuation, grammar, dictation style. Ability for critical thinking and applying principles as applied to accounting processes and methods to solve practical problems and deal with a variety of concrete variables in situations where only limited standardization exists. Skill in interpersonal relations, skill in verbal and written communication.
I would hope, not to cut you off, I would hope board would consider an individual that could go to work right away, not somebody that has got a contract they've got to keep going for 6 months from now. If we're going to do this, we need to do it in a reasonable amount of time.
A lot of qualifications, and we need every one of them. All right, gentlemen. Hope y'all had a chance to read the draft of the job description for the account manager that Luttrell put in your package. Well, Stadler, would we be better off to, instead of having an employee, or just contract this out? Just asking a question.
I mean, we can certainly evaluate those particular options. In some aspects, that is what the pre-audit is doing. So if you have somebody on staff, you would, ultimately, the goal would be to reduce your pre-audit cost. There may be some options out there that instead of doing a pre-audit at only specific times, I don't know, and this is what I did put in the pre-audit bid document, or RFP, excuse me, is that if there was an opportunity to do monthly contract services, then they were to respond with that information as well.
If you do contract, that incur a lot of work being done off-site, where if you hired an individual, it would be done here on-site on a regular basis, day by day?
Well, that's why I brought it up. Because that would be off-site. I'm not sure whether I want everything off-site.
No, I want it right here where I can get my hands on it.
And how much additional software are we going to need? Or what other types of software are we going to need?
Well,
That's the problem right now, is software.
well, one of the things that if the board decides to move forward with this position, I feel like this individual needs to be heavily involved with the discussion of the software that we're having. The other challenge that you have is if you do a contracted position, a lot of that now is being done virtually. So what you're doing at that point is you're taking staff time from Ms. Dotson, Ms. Dungan, from Ms. King, in compiling that data for that individual and to send that to them. So whereas if you have somebody on staff, then what you're doing is you're providing that individual access to that software. They in turn go in and get that information directly. Just thoughts.
I see that point. Yeah. I'd save on that. Well, gentlemen, we need to do something on this, some kind of way. We have to make some corrections here. Not just some, we have to make a lot of corrections.
All right, well, we done gotten off kilter a little bit.
So the discussion's supposed to be with this after action plan.
Yep.
What is the timeline the board would like to see results? June?
How long has it been out already? And we set the plan out in January or February? January, wasn't it?
It was, I'd have to go back and look. It was shortly after the presentation, which was end of January.
Same day of the presentation.
Yes.
What was your question again, Jimmy?
Well, sat here and we talked about a position and listed off all the other things that this person could be doing. But right now, the focus point needs to be this action plan. we don't need to go into another budget year dragging all this stuff in, audit into a new budget year. We focus on getting as much of that cleaned up as we can before we get into another budget year. We may not get it all. We need to get as much of it as we can. So we need to really, you know, if you're looking at an individual to come in, I think, yeah, they're gonna have other duties. This needs to be a focus point.
We have estimated dates of completion or dates of completion for all these corrective actions at this point, right?
There is a line on that document that estimate it and then complete it, so.
And some do not have any dates of a completed or estimated.
I mean, it's,
And that's where we need to, like Mr. Brand's talking about, we have to get a timeline in here.
because if we're at the path we're going down, we're gonna be looking at this thing a year from now. And I don't wanna sit here a year from now and be rehashing this.
Well,
We
we don't have many more months left in this year,
No, but I don't
And
wanna be
we-
sitting here next March talking about it again.
and we don't need it carrying over into the next year either.
No.
It needs to be corrected in this budget year.
Well, the first step needs to be us deciding if we're satisfied with the response or the action that the body's going to take, right?
And I would suggest go back and let's all of us read this over again and come back at the board meeting. And between now and then, if we have any questions, anything, we can get them out to whoever we need to get them to through Luttrell, and come back and be prepared to talk about this a little more. But, you know, my thing of it is I don't want it to keep dragging on. We need to go in and make it right. If it takes like I said, I'd like to see someone from the outside to take care of it, oversee it, manage it. But let's get started on it.
All right?
Well, if an employee, if the board did decide to hire an employee, and you'd have to do advertising and so forth and so on, you're talking at what, 30, 60 days?
Yeah,
At a minimum,
At a
probably.
minimum.
At a minimum?
By the time you advertise it, do the interviews, and then bring them on board.
But that person could jump right in on the plan once they got oriented to the work of the county. They could jump right in on it.
That would be certainly something that I mean, because
Like, I'm getting back to what Jimmy was saying. That was my idea of one of the bases for hiring the person, was to get on that.
Right. Okay, so that's plan A. Let's have a plan B. Let's research and see if individual that can take this on solely. We don't move in the direction with plan A, or it's moving too slow. We can have something and making some progress. Have a plan B, to have, or look for an individual that could solely work on this.
Perhaps we could do that in closed sessions.
Give us two directions to go in.
Yeah.
And hopefully want to work it. Because if we don't, we're going to be here talking about it again.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, what else?
Are we off that, or are we still on that, on the correction action plan?
Still on this.
We're still on it, okay.
Just thinking here.
If we did go the route of an extra employee to take this on, that would have to go for a motion, wouldn't it?
So
Okay.
it's currently not in the budget
Budget.
right now, so, yes, sir.
Do we want to not quite ready on that question yet. Think a little bit more. Well, this would take care of the school side. We can try to get our side done. I mean, county side, school side's another problem we're gonna have to get worked out. That's gonna have to be taken care of. So, you know, I understand they have a new financial director, but we're still gonna have set time limits. I don't want this going over into our next budget cycle. I don't know how everybody else feels about it, but I don't want to carry the problems over into the next cycle. And then we need to make sure that they're not going to come back again. I still haven't gotten an answer to that question. I don't know how to get an answer to that yet.
I think that's about as far as we can go with this topic.
I think we read this like you were talking about, Mr. Brand, read it, jot our notes down. Let's talk about it a little bit more. And tell you something, I'd like to have a little bit of public comment on this. I know we got very many people in here, and I know they'd like to say a little something. That's all right with y'all?
Yeah, I think it should be.
But if that's the case, you have to advertise it, correct?
No.
Don't have to
No,
advertise it?
no,
don't have
Public
to.
comment?
No, not
Okay.
good.
Okay.
All right. Let's have some public comment. Who wants to speak on this issue? Come on up, sir. Whoever wants to come first.
Hey, folks. So I'm John Costa. I'm Vice Chair of the Planning Commission. In a prior life, I was the Director of Programs and Policies for the Senate Majority Leader in Michigan, so a very large organization. They had similar issues in Michigan for quite some time, and they and a lot of other states have another role, a little bit outside the box from what Mr. Tadlock was presenting. In Michigan, it's called the Senate Fiscal Agency. And what that body is a group of analysts who report directly to the leadership of the Senate. They're not in the executive branch, they're in the legislative branch, reporting to the political officials. The Senate Fiscal Agency's job is not to be an accountant manager or things like that, though they are trained as accountants typically. What they do is oversee what's happening in the government, provide advice to the policymakers, to the legislative officials. Is it working? Is it accurate? The goal you're trying to accomplish here is not to add more accountants to your government. It's to improve trust and accountability, it seems to me. So the Senate Fiscal Agency's role is to provide needed advice to the elected officials about what's going on. What are some of the things that can be done? How are corrective action plans being addressed and so forth? So you may want to think about something slightly different out of the box from what Mr. Tadlock was talking about, and that is somebody who can do this temporarily, but with the authority from you to go into all of the things you want to investigate or the corrective action plan. That's out of the box suggestion number one. Number two might be a bit more radical, and that is because your primary focus right now is the corrective action plan for the schools, and that is to have the finance director of the schools report directly to the Board of Supervisors. Still be on the school board payroll, on the leadership team of the superintendent, but reporting to you. to provide the trust and accountability to get the corrective action plan taken care of. There's a number of models around the country. I've worked with governments all over the world in my career, and there are ways to solve the problem, but to your point, several of you made this, the primary issue is not more accounting. The primary issue is trust and accountability, something that apparently is sorely lacking right now. I'll be glad to answer any questions, otherwise I'll sit down.
Board members have any questions for Mr. Cost?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else like to speak? Come on up.
Karen Pica, Wycomico Church. I wholeheartedly agree with Mr. Cost. This board needs to be the one that has their thumb on whoever's going to be managing this particular report. As everyone here knows, I'm not a huge fan of increasing government spending, so I think adding another position to the payroll is probably not the best answer in this solution. There clearly might be some things that need to be done. If you're looking at getting some of these issues corrected, the Board of Supervisors needs to have the button on whoever this is. So whether that's a contract position, whether it's a supplement employee that's on a temporary basis, like a special outside hire, I think Mr. Cost is absolutely right. It needs to be somebody that has the ability to oversee. You can have the finance director reporting directly to that person. You can have that person have access to the systems. You need a button that you can push that's going to honestly tell you. One, that's going to look at this plan. I would recommend that you actually crowdsource this plan, put it out there for comment. There's a lot of people that are really bright in this county that are going to have thoughts about some of the items that are in that plan. The plan is, the corrective action plans, I actually have to say the treasurer's is pretty good. I think the county's needs a few tweaks, and as you heard me say before, the school needs a lot of tweaks. This isn't going to work unless this body has a button. You cannot have an intervening person. You can't have somebody working for the county administrator who's overseeing the county administrator's corrective action plan. It just doesn't work. The most expedient way to do it would be, as Mr. Cost had mentioned, is to bring somebody on board that works with you guys, that you can then say, go do this and go do that, and that you've got the button for. Whether that's somebody that is remote, because that's the fastest way to do it, they would have to come here, as you said, Mr. Fisher. It'd have to be somebody that you guys can touch. And they have to have the ability to be in the systems to look at these things. I think that is going to be the only way one of the only ways you're going to be able to get to resolution on these items in this budget cycle. Otherwise, it's going to drag on. So thank you for the opportunity to comment.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak?
On a longer-term solution, and both of these, yes. But there isn't any way that you can expect to go through this process and not have it impact employees' policies, procedures, and whatever they have to do, their job descriptions, if you will. So in the end, some work is going to have to be done to incorporate lessons learned and a number of other facets in how people are actually doing their jobs to support this particular effort into the future ad nauseum. So it's going to involve a lot of things, to include what John and Karen have said, and I wouldn't dispute either of them. But at the end of the day, when the rubber hits the road, it has to be on the employees that do the day-to-day work. So that's a level of effort, incorporating what falls out of the process that's just now getting started. It has to be incorporated into people's job descriptions so that it gets done and that it can be used as a point of evaluation of employees. Otherwise, it's going to slip through the cracks again.
I just want to, Dave Curran, by the way. I just want to say there's typically 7 steps to a corrective action plan. Some of them have already been done by the audit itself. The first one is define the problem, establish the scope of the problem, and then the third one, I think, is the most important one, because this is kind of where we're at right now, is take containment action. So we need to look at that action plan right now and make sure that we're not allowing it to expand while we're fixing the problem, and that we need to contain that problem. then we have to find the root cause of the problem. Because if we don't come to the root cause of the problem, we're going to be fixing something that isn't the problem. And then that's when you develop your plan to come up with the action plan for fixing the root problems. The seventh step, and this aligns with like strategic plans for school divisions, counties, whatever. Step 6 is implement the correction action plan. No, you got the problem, you've identified the problem, then you implement the plan. And the seventh step is follow up to ensure that it doesn't happen. The only thing I'm going to say is whatever you guys decide to do, gentlemen, decide to do, whoever the person is that's doing this corrective action plan has got to have the autonomy to enforce it across the board. So that's all I wanted to say.
All right, thank you. Anyone else like to speak? Anyone else like to speak? Yeah, we have anybody online that would like to speak? Anyone that's online tonight like to speak on this corrective action plan? Would anyone that's online tonight like to speak about this corrective action plan? I hear some background noise, but I don't hear anything else yet. Would you speak? Tell us your name and all. Tell us your name and address, please.
Mr. Haney,
Yes.
Lynn Stewart, Lotsburg.
Good evening.
I would like to echo the sentiments of John Cost, Karen Pica, and Dr. Curran. It's important that this person have autonomy and report directly to the Board of Supervisors. We have tried it the other way with an intermediary and it hasn't worked, and it hasn't worked for years. And at this point, if we want it done quickly and efficiently, whoever this person is, if the position is agreed to, has to have the autonomy that's already been discussed. It won't work any other way.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, would anyone else that is online tonight with us like to speak on the corrective action plan? Any on tonight? Everybody's quiet tonight. Would anyone else like to speak on the correction action plan? If you're online or if you're in person here in this courtroom, feel free to speak up. All right. Gentlemen, guess we'll close that public comment period. And like Mr. Brand said, I would suggest, quoting what he said, let's read this thing again. Let's go down, jot our notes down. We'll talk about it on our next board meeting, which is March the 13th. Mr. Tadlock, is that correct?
That's correct. Yes, sir.
And we can talk about things in a little bit more in detail. Unless you want to talk more now. Any ideas on anything that you may have?
I think we should,
All right. No other conversation. We can go on to our next item if that's
Mr. Long had a comment.
Mr. Long, you have something?
Yes, I think we should just wait till the next meeting and bring our ideas in.
All right, that's fine. If everybody feels that way, that's what we'll do. All right, that's what we'll do. We'll wait till March 13th meeting.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
if, Mr. Kern? I tried to write down your comments a while ago, but I'd like to get a copy of them before I leave here tonight. Give me a guide to go by. I like what you had to say.
Okay. Anything else, Mr. Fisher?
That's all I have, sir.
All right. Before we go into a closed meeting, is anything else that the board wants to discuss?
The insurance, the audit, it's not quite completed. Is that for this meeting or a closed meeting?
Discuss that in open meeting?
That would be an open meeting.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Fisher.
I'd like to do one thing tonight, for sure. And we've heard several comments about the audit that should have been done probably in November, then it went to December. Okay, we need to put a stop to this. You know, the citizens of Northumberland County is not looking at them audit people. They're looking at us. And what can we do tonight, mind you, to make sure that this problem that we have on our laps does not happen again?
Mr. Tadlock's been coming up with,
Well, the citizens of the county need better.
well, we've had some discussions on about putting it back out for bid.
It's currently out.
It's currently out for bids.
For the pre-audit and the audit are both
So
out.
what if these same
or for
people-
requests for proposals.
What if these same people bid it in again?
I'd accept them,
Okay.
as far as I'm
It's
concerned.
kind of what I wanted to hear.
I'm only speaking for myself.
Is that what we plan on doing?
Well, I
If the
think
same
they-
people put in for it again? Because we're not getting service out of these people. The county taxpayers are not getting what they need,
I think they need to take a break.
And
putting it mildly.
Mr. Tadlock, where did you advertise? What
We-
locations did you advertise?
We advertise it on the state site,
Okay.
VITA site, and then it's on our webpage.
And Mr. Tadlock, when would you like to see this audit completed where you could do your job properly?
Ideally, we would like to have it done by December 15th so that we can comply with the APA guidelines. And then we would definitely have that information for the budget going into the next fiscal year.
Can we put that into a must?
Absolutely.
It must be done?
Oh, yes.
And at least leave one major problem tonight.
When and if we interview somebody else at Pensman or somebody else applies, that will be one of the things that we do require.
That's in,
And it won't be will, it will be
Shall.
shall.
Shall, the word shall.
that's in the RFP as well.
Okay. And our current auditor has put us in not a very good situation with a lot of things.
Well, as I say, the taxpayers are not looking at that audit. The taxpayers could care less. They're looking at us to do our job properly.
Yep. And the auditor's holding us up.
Like Jimmy said, he needs a vacation. Okay,
Yep.
I feel better about that.
Currently, the RFP for auditing services is due March 24th, and the pre-auditing services is due March 25th.
All right.
All right, gentlemen, what else? Anything else, Mr. Fisher?
I'm done.
All right. Mr. Williams? Mr. Long? You have anything else you want to discuss? Mr. Bryan?
No, I don't have anything.
All right. If you don't have anything else, I will entertain a motion and go
Yes,
into closed meeting then.
Christopher's waving a hand.
You have someone who wants to speak real quick?
It's Christopher.
Miss Christopher, how you doing, ma'am? I know you've been awful quiet tonight.
I know, a lot of things I'll say no more in public session, but one thing I will say in open session is I'd like to
All right. Good evening. Nice to meet you.
You hadn't seen or heard, but I listened to you on the radio.
Okay. All right. Appreciate y'all coming tonight, too.
I've been looking at you all night and didn't know who you were. Thank you for coming.
All right. Anything else? Dr. Walgrove, you have anything?
No, thank you for having us. We will strive to make all of the corrections that are recommended. We are, as Dr. Pita referenced, on our 5th finance. Right now, we have an interim finance director. We've had different finance teams over the last 5 years. And hopefully, with Ms. Withers' leadership, we can move forward and really get to the bottom of the discrepancies. And I take full ownership as your superintendent, and as I said, we will strive to do better and get these things fixed as soon as possible.
That would be very nice.
And the board members have been well aware of this, and we have been asking for it every month since July. To see it ourselves, how much we're giving back to the county. Whether, you know, the answer I got wasn't the answer that I taught the county under, let's put it that way.
Yeah, we need some answers. Actually, we need a lot of answers. All right, if nothing else, Tadlock, do you have the appropriate language to go into closed meeting?
Yes, sir. I need a motion that the Northumberland County Board of Supervisors convene in closed meeting pursuant to Virginia Freedom of Information Act, Section 2.2, 3711A1, for the discussion and consideration of personnel matters. Invited to attend the closed meeting as necessary are the county administrator and assistant county administrator, as they are deemed necessary, and their presence will reasonably aid the board in its consideration of the topics to be discussed pursuant to Virginia FOIA Section 2.2, 3712F.
Motion made.
Second.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are now in closed meeting. You're welcome to stay and come back after we come back out of closed meeting.
That the Northumberland Board of Supervisors return to public meeting and certify by roll call vote that only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting, were heard, discussed, or considered during the closed meeting.
All right, have a motion?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Roll call vote. Mr. Williams? Aye. Mr. Long?
Aye.
Mr. Brand?
Aye.
Mr. Fisher?
Aye.
Mr. Haney, aye. All right, we're back in the open meeting, gentlemen. Now we can discuss whatever y'all want to discuss.
What you got on your mind?
I'm getting hungry. Mr. Long, you hungry?
Oh, I had naps.
He's gonna be eating all night.
What do you need from us, Mr. Tadlock?
There's no specific action I need. I just want to adjourn for the meeting next week.
All right, is there anything else y'all want to talk about before we close out?
One thing,
Yes.
how can we encourage citizens of this county to have one of the dirtiest counties around? Things all over the highway. We never had this before. I mean, it's just embarrassing. All types of trash. We have this as much trash that we had when we had the open containers. So there's some way we need to pass the word Because every meeting I'm in, and I'm in quite a few, I encourage citizens to really take pride in the county. Because we're supposed to be the leading county. We're the first mother county, you know. So we need to think of ways to encourage, I know some of you speak in front of groups, you need to bring it up, you know, and encourage them to do better. Going to encourage our kids to do better, because when you see people rolling out the window, throwing stuff out the window, and kids see it, they're going to think it's right. They're going to do it too. I mean, we can even, when I was in the school system, I used to bring this up and, you know, tell classes and encourage their parents to help take care of the county. Just, I don't know if a lot of you see, and then you see a lot of state signs down. I don't know if y'all call in, I do. Because I will never forget what happened in Westmoreland. When a yield sign was down, one motorist didn't see it and had a head-on collision with a school bus. Those things can happen. So, you know, when I talk to groups, I always bring those things up. Hopefully you do too.
Well, as far as an education of the public, wouldn't the Litter Council have some input on that?
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Even to the point of the school system. The Litter Council could go into the school system and help educate on that.
And we used to do that. Then you got some of those kids can give you ideas. You'll be surprised at some of the kids when you talk to a group of young people, things they can come up with to help us out. So, just throwing that out there.
But, Mr. Long, you all right? You all right on, you look at the highways, it's terrible.
And I don't know what it is about Fruit Plain Bottom and, next bottom over.
Yeah, you got everything whirling there.
Right.
I think a lot of it washes down there, Jimmy.
Well, you can get any piece of furniture you want down there.
Right.
There was a dishwasher the other day.
And I mean, it's, I don't know. And I'll tell you another bad place we got since they closed Kitchener Springs Road, coming in on the Monday Point side, people are using that down there to dump tires.
Right, that's what
The first place you're speaking of, a lot of that is there are no houses around there.
You're right.
Nobody to see what's going on.
Valley Drive's the other one I was thinking about.
Didn't we have a person hired for the county to check on those things? Years ago with the tires and stuff like that.
Yeah, heating workers for shop.
We need to think of something. When I started having a lot of,
Send me those bills.
don't want to be like DC,
Got
with a lot
the
of
dates, they're all
roaches, rats and
nothing old.
everything else.
I had just a blank email. Free. All right, tell them to start tomorrow. All right, anybody else got anything? If not, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Got a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all for coming.